There's a 20-second delay.
Yeah. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the 2023 Boom Learning Symposium. My name is Kyle, and today I'll be talking for quite a while about creating boom cards as a beginner and what it's like to start to make boom cards and how you can learn all the little tricks and tools in the deck editor, which is great fun for me because I love talking about the editor and I rarely get a chance to actually talk about it. There is a special guest today, Dave Sindri, who I'm very happy will be here. He's somewhere in the audience. We're trying to find him, but at the end of about 50 minutes, I'll be talking about the editor. We get to talk to Dave about some things, and maybe he can share some insights or some images of his earlier work or breakthroughs he had when he was just getting started, which would be really fun to see. And I'm really excited to talk with him today. I'm going to go ahead and ask everyone to look to the chat in Zoom. Please let us know where you're from, how long you've been using boom cards, or if you make them. And also use the Q&A chat, which is a little different down there for the end, and that will help with the discussion with Dave. If you have any questions for Dave Sindri, the creator of Troll in the Bowl, please put them in the Q&A chat, and then it'll be easy for us to find your question. I'm going to go ahead and get started sharing my screen. Today I don't have any slideshows for you, but I'll be working directly in boom cards and showing you everything about the studio and the boom card deck editor, and show you some boom cards that I created to help demonstrate how they work. Here I'm on the wow.boomlearning.com homepage, and if I scroll all the way down here, I will be demonstrating using a premium membership. Now, you don't actually need this. You can make boom cards for free. You can make up to 5 boom card decks. The reason I'm demonstrating with premium is almost strictly just because it lets you put sound in the boom cards. I don't need to sell them, so I won't be using Publisher. But if you wanted to sell what you made and start marketing your curriculum for other teachers to buy, you would need this Publisher, but Premium is pretty good. It will let me use sound. It lets me make unlimited self-made decks. This is pretty useful if you're creating a library of your own. I'm going to jump straight over here to Studio, and this is where your brand is. This is where your pen name is, the name of your store, and your store logo. Mine is kind of boring. It's just a picture of a bee for now, but you could have a logo here, or your portrait with your name of your store under it. There's lots of different ideas. In fact, if we go to the store and go to the featured tab here, we can see these pictures here. Here's some featured authors. This is the picture they're using in their studio right here. That's how they're marketing themselves. You can review your store if you've published anything here, and you can also set up some data about what kind of curriculum you make by clicking this button here. Here you can see we're looking at our account settings and our grades, and you can highlight the grades that you create, and this will help you with being found. If someone's searching for teaching materials and you're set up with these flags, or tags rather, it makes it a little easier for buyers to find you in the store. All right, if I scroll down, we can see my membership and some other information, but really what we're going to focus on today is all of this stuff here in the asset managers. What we have are decks, which are fully built boom card stacks of cards that sometimes they shuffle up, sometimes there's a branching path through them called flow magic, which is kind of like door number 1 takes you to card number 10, But door number 2 on this card takes you to card number 20, and the deck can kind of be navigated through like a maze or a puzzle. And some of them just play card 1 and then card 2 and then card 3 sequentially like that. Images are what go into a deck. The images are clip art pieces. If I click this, you can see I have some boom learning like pictures and some stars here. This little checkered pattern means it's transparent. So these stars can kind of float on top of other images or maybe below them. If I scroll down, you can see I have some clip art here that I got from the store. If you go to the store tab, I'm going to jump over there again really quick and click images. You can go to the store and get clip art to make boom cards. Now these cost some money here, but if we sort them by price, low to high, we can actually find free clip art, 0 points, meaning we can just get this into our studio images manager and start making boom cards with these. There's a little bear picture. So there's lots of stuff in here that you can find to be put into this images manager for a collection of clip art that will help you build boom cards. Here you can see I put some really basic puzzle pieces and shapes in here. Here's a little bee. I have to put the bee into my account, upload the picture here before I can make it a avatar for my store. The same goes for sound. If you click the sounds, you can upload MP3 files to this list, and these sounds here can be played when someone taps on a certain element in a boom card, or they can play when a student arrives on the boom card right away, and I'll show you how to do that when we're looking at the deck editor. And fonts are the same as sounds and images. You upload font files to the account. If you want to upload images directly to your account, you must be licensed to use them if you're going to sell them, but you can upload pretty much anything with this little upload images button here. And this will bring up your operating system. If it's a Mac or a Windows, it'll bring up the little manager where your Explorer, I should say, where your images are, and then you just find the image and upload it. .png files are probably the best, I think, because they have good transparency. So it's easy to make buttons and shapes that sort of fit properly on the card, and they don't cover everything up if it's a .png file. If you're going to sell, these are pretty useful down here, although I can't really demonstrate what they look like very much because I don't have any sales records, and I don't have any other buyers telling me, oh, there's a typo in your deck on card, whatever card 10 or something. That's where feedback will go here of buyers asking for things from you. Maybe they like what you make and they're requesting more. So that's good for selling. All right, we're going to go into this Dex now, and we're going to look at more about getting into the nitty-gritty of making boom cards. When you first come into this view, this will be empty, obviously. And if you click this new deck button here, it will create a tutorial deck that has a name and a little thumbnail already. Just click it twice, and if you click it again, it'll give you a new blank deck that's empty. Boom card decks are very similar to PowerPoint as a slideshow. It's just that each slide can be taught to do interactive things. You can build games into the slides and tell the slides how they should operate based on what the player does, what your student does. Here you can see I have lots of different decks, examples of them, and playing with the functionality of the deck. I'm going to start with this one here with the little heart shape. I'll tour a few of the other ones, but I want to go into this one because this one showcases the boom card deck editor pretty well, and it also covers all of the little widgets and elements that you can place in the deck. Here is a full view. It's very overwhelming at first, but I'll try to make it easy. Here we can see at the top up here, this is usually where I start when I make a brand new deck, is I click this details button. And up here, we can see a new view of the deck's information. What is the deck about? Are there any acknowledgements? Say you got some clip art from someone and you want to type an acknowledgement. You can also write the description, which helps with being discovered. If you click on the title right up here, you can change the title just by clicking or tapping on it. The same goes for the thumbnail. Say I want to change the thumbnail to a different picture like these stars. No, I kind of like the heart still. I'm going to use that one. And it will just update the thumbnail for you. Here is where you set what the cost of the deck is, should you publish it to the store. So I want 50,000 points. No, that's a terrible idea. That's not good pricing at all. Let's just stay for free right now until we figure that one out. Searching, this is where you would place keywords. Succinct, concise, and few keywords are best. If you over dilute the things that the buyers might type, that could make it harder for you to be discovered. So you would want a word here to match a word in your title and also match a word in the description, because that makes this word is what you want to be found by. That's very good for just discoverability. Also making sure your grades are set. Which grades does this deck geared towards? Subjects are pretty deep. There's a lot of them here. We could click on the drop down too to get some more detail in each subject. And you can highlight, I think, up to 7 subjects when you're setting up what your deck is. When you go to the play tab up here, this is how the deck flows, we'll say. If we just make it sequential, for example, it's going to play just really quickly. Here's card 1, and then it will play card 2, and then it will play card 3. But if you set it to randomize, when the buyer or the player gets a hold of the deck, it might show card 10 first, and then card 21, and sort of jump all over the place. And then if you play it again, it's going to shuffle again, and it's not going to be the same. It's going to have a different order. You can tell it not to shuffle card 1 and 2, or maybe 1, 2, 3, and 4. Maybe you have some instructions on those cards that you want the student to click next through, and you don't want them to randomize. Cards per play also makes it so that when the student plays the deck, it's randomizing, but it's also not playing every card in the deck. Let's type 10. Now my deck has 31 cards in it, but it's only going to play 10 per play. Well, the buyer might think, where are the cards? I don't see them all. Well, you have to play it again. You have to play it at least 4 times to actually see all 31 cards. I know that's a little counterintuitive, but this defaults to play all of them, but you can tell it to change that. Flow magic is what I had mentioned before, where say your boom card image has a picture of a door that's red and a door that's blue, and we'll cover this in a moment. But they're both a picture, and you tap on one of the doors and it will send you to a specific card number somewhere out there, and the other door will send you to a different card number. Now, it's not random, it's determined, but it's also kind of sequential. It's going to play the same way each time, as well if the student picks the same things each time. But if they're exploring and trying to find their way around, maybe discover things they haven't seen because they haven't tapped on it yet, that's where you need flow magic, and that's where escape rooms come from. Escape rooms are built with flow magic, which I'll actually show you a little bit. Make sure I have an eye on my timer here. So that's details. I usually start there. Preview is right next to it. This is how you jump from the editor view into playing the boom card and actually seeing, okay, does it work? Now that I've set it up, does it do what I want it to do? up here is, I'm going to start with the cards and actually making each slide. You can see here I have some games and challenges on each of these cards, but up here this one's empty. Well, that's because this one's kind of like a style everything card. If I place an image, and to do that, all of these little widgets here, things that go on the card, you just click it and drag it like this, kind of like when you're moving a file in Windows, and then you release your mouse button and drop it on there. And then it lets me pick, oh, which image? I kind of like this little yellow flower here. I think it's kind of cute. So I'm going to style all of my boom cards, and you can see, hopefully, here on each boom card going down is that flowers popping up now. And now when I go and look, this little flower is everywhere. Well, that's because it's on the template card. This little flower can be given functionality. It can even be a question. For instance, a multi-picture container. This might look a little ugly on all of the other cards, but if I wanted to set up an example of a multi-picked question, I could put, if I'm editing the template card here, I could put my box where my options are and then place some text. And now I'll just type enter instructions here. Place it there. And now on every new card I create, if I click this little plus button to make new cards, it copy, so to speak, what's on the template card. Then I can drop in and just double click these to place what I want. Well, I want a red shape here, and then I want 3 blue shapes, and I want to double click the instructions, tap the red shape. So now on card 1, I have done some minor editing to the template. It's kind of like a foundation or scaffolding almost, where I can really quickly drop in to each of these cells in the multi-picked and choose where I want the answers to go. You can see the multi-picked makes a little green outline on one of them and a red outline on the other 3. And that's because this one is considered correct, and you can see here where the correct is highlighted. And over here on these red outlines, they're set to be wrong. If I preview this, it should work. Oh, here's my selections. There we go. I got it. So on my template card, it looks like there's nothing, but it's really a placeholder so that I can come in. So I made this one. Now let's double click on this one and make a blue one, a red one, another red one, and maybe this red one here. Now I'm going to double click on the text and say tap the blue shape. So now we have 2 different questions, but I made them pretty quickly, actually, using the template card. So if you have a design in your mind that could utilize the template card, it's a great way to make content really quickly. Just keep an eye out if you do delete something on the template card, poof, it's gone everywhere. You could always hit Control Z, which is Control and Z or Command Z on a Mac to undo a step. There's also an undo button right here if something goes wrong. But for now, I'm gonna clean this up, this template card. So we previewed a little bit about elements on a card. Here we've got some text here, which we dragged a little text widget like that. And another one. Here's also a sound widget. Here's an image, but it's not doing anything. If we look over here in the properties of the element and sort of look around, all of this is turned off. It's not correct, it's not wrong, it's not a link. I better make sure Flow Magic's on. Yep, it is. So if a student taps on here or tries to do it doesn't do anything. It's just sort of some visual imagery. But this basket here has that green border around it, and if we click and select it, we can see it is a correct answer. If we preview this, we can click around. What does this sound widget do?
Touch the dirty clothes.
Oh, okay. So there's sound embedded in the boom cards. We tap it. Yep, it's a correct answer. It'll go ding. So this is a very simple design, and I actually made one here just to show the structure of the functions. Here's a text widget, and here's a sound, and here's a shape. I'm going to make this really quickly for you by clicking this and making a new card. I'm going to drag an image, same image, and let's try another one. Actually, I'm going to make it a little more challenging. So this one here is going to be the correct answer, and these two are going to be the incorrect answer. And now we're going to take this text widget, drop it here, and then I just click on it 3 times to highlight the whole thing. Just click, click, click. That's pretty easy. Tap the red colored shape. Now if we preview this, and whoops, whoops. And it's pretty straightforward with wrong and correct answers on the card. Let me get rid of that extra one. Here's another example that I made that I forgot to remove for the demonstration. Here's an example of some artwork where there's more art that you could tap on, but it won't do anything. It won't say whoops. It just won't do anything. But tapping the washing machine here. Oh, whoops, I guess I got it on accident almost. That's fine. Things get a little complicated if there are multiple correct answers on a card. Here you can see there's a green border on all of these. If we preview this, the boom card is going to circle the answer. And if I'm missing one, it's going to say, whoops, I actually need to find all of the correct answers. And if there happens to be an incorrect answer, as on, and in this challenge, tap all of the red shapes. There's 2 here and 1 incorrect. It would be the same. It would be that I can't have any of the incorrect ones selected, even if I have all of the correct ones selected, or it will still be wrong. So the conditions to successfully submit on a card that has multiple correct on it is a little higher. The challenge is a little higher. So just keep that in mind. Other things like text widgets can be accidentally set to correct. As you can see here now, this is clearly wrong. We're not supposed to be able to highlight the instructions, but this can happen sometimes if you're clicking around, there's a lot going on. Just keep an eye on the little green borders if they pop up, and if it's something that's not supposed to be correct, just click correct again to remove it and set it back to default. Here's an example of how even buttons can be made as correct or incorrect answers. A button right here is just a text graphic, so to speak, where you can type what you want the button to say. This is really used a lot with next. I just made a really awful looking arrow there. But yeah, the next is kind of popular as a button. Here's another example of buttons with some styling. I have this button selected, and then down here with the border, I dropped this little border segment. I made the border blue, and I made the thickness of the border 4 pixels. So that kind of makes it look a little interesting. If I double click on the text too, I can set the text to look different ways up here by making it bold or changing the color of it. Here's an example of buttons in a multi-choice container. I think it's multi-choice. Yes, it is. There it is. Oops, I want to delete this. The multi-choice container has 3 selections in it, and the multi-choice container, I'm not sure if you caught this earlier, when I select the whole bounding box, down here is randomizing the items. And what that means is that the correct answer here which is on the leftmost column, might show up on the right or in the center. If we preview this, it might actually work. Oh, no, it didn't. It shuffled it to the front. One more try. Oh, well. Well, as you can guess, this one may pop up in a different place. We may see it a little later. But this could help if the student's playing your card more than one time. Maybe it's a little different. It's a little different each time. Here's an example too of how the text, oopsies, the text widgets here can be created as correct and incorrect answers. Here's a multi-picked container. It's not a multi-choice, but the multi-pictures. So these little images will pop up in here as you set them. Let's see, are there any questions? I'll take a brief moment since I've been talking for quite a while. Let's see. Is it possible?
Hey, Kyle. Yeah,
Hi.
there's a lot of questions that I've answered, but
Okay.
Tara asked, can you have it set up without any correct answers if gathering information about students?
Yes. Let me go up here and I'll create a card really quick, and I can put lots of little images in here, maybe some kind of goofy box shape and then a diamond. And this doesn't do anything. If I preview this, I can tap and click until the cows come home, but nothing will actually happen. I have to teach one of these elements to do something, such as this one here. I want this to link to, it's not correct and it's not wrong, but it's a flow magic link. Now it has this yellow border, and if I click on it, it will say it's linking to card 9, which is down here. Now it won't say wrong or right, but if I click it, it's going to send me over to card 9. Kind of like I walked through a door into another room. If you're seeing where I'm going with the escape room mentality here. And then of course on card 9, I could have a picture of the door. Let's see, where is it? I feel like, oh my goodness, I put the wrong one, but I can double click it and change it to this one. And what is that card again? Card 3? Well, let's have this guy link back to card 3. And now I've created a little loop where I can enter the kitchen and make a sandwich and then go back into my bedroom and eat it and then go back into the kitchen when I realize I forgot napkins. So now I'm going in my escape room in and out of this little door. So yeah, the boom card could be made as just instructions. And it can also be made in a very particular way to maybe send a student to a different card that has those instructions or something like that. Let's see.
Tara was thinking about using it to gather information about students. So for instance, we can have fill in the blank or whatnot, and the answer doesn't have to be correct or incorrect.
Yes. Let's see, if I go to my fill in the blank segment, actually, let's just make a new card for this. Here's an example that I created pretty quickly. Type the color of the shape, and then the fill in the blank here is set to be red. But a fill in the blank can actually, if I double click it, this is where I choose what kind of answers I want. Let's say, well, I want red. Submit that. That's an answer. And we also don't want it to be case sensitive. The only way to make it ungraded is to click open response right here, which I actually created an example deck for that. When you create an open response, the answer that the student gives will pop up in your reports page, not green as in correct and not red as in incorrect, but it'll be a little purple bubble, which you can click on to then look at what the student wrote for you in that segment. I could, if I have a little time at the end, I could show reports for you and show some examples of what they look like. I don't have any examples of these reports through my creations at the moment, unfortunately. But I do have reports.
Could, say if you had a multiple choice answer, could none of them be correct or incorrect?
Yes,
Or do we
actually.
need to have one
No,
correct?
no. Here I put a multi-choice, and by default, it creates one correct cell and 3 incorrect cells. But I can just go through and turn them off. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Yeah, they don't do anything now. But let's say I scroll down here, and what I really want is them to cycle through images, and I want my students to make all the images the same. So let's add a chain image. Let's start with a square, and let's add another one in the chain, and we're going to add a circle. Okay, and then let's see, if I double click it, we're going to set the background image to a blank circle. If we preview this now, this will maybe a little counterintuitive, but now as I'm clicking this, it's cycling through those 3 images. They're not correct or incorrect, but if I set that up for all 4 cells, I could say, make all the cells circles, or make 2 cells circles and 2 cells squares. And then you would have to you'd have to do another form of grading though, because Boom Learning doesn't know how to grade this. Boom Learning only knows how to create report data for correct and incorrect responses. There is another kind of correct response, which is when you have a draggable like this, which has a wire connected to a drop zone. So this drop zone saying, give me this item, this little sock right here is the correct answer. I could get into drop zones. I think I'm going to do that. I don't want to miss any questions though.
Okay,
that
we'll
are
move
really
on.
important.
This is interesting. Christy asks, is it possible to create a boom card using temporal order? For example, first touch the apple, then touch the orange?
Not yet. There are link conditions. So if I make this a link to, let's say card 6, it's not correct, it's just a link. Let's make this a, wait a minute. Okay, let me think this through. We're gonna make this a ice cream cone, and we're gonna say, tap the red square, then the ice cream cone that is upside down. Something like this. This red square will be a correct, and ink answers option. Let's see. Oh no, that's not quite right. This, when I have this selected where the ice cream cone is, that's my final click, the link. I'm going to click this little button that says conditional link. And we're going to set link picker to 6. Link if wrong. I'm not sure if that's actually correct. Let's see if this works.
Here we're actually previewing the boom card Kyle's designing. So it's kind of cool. You can test your creations while you go.
Yeah, it's nice to like make something really quick and then click preview to get an idea of what the student will see and the player will see. But I just did that super fast. But basically what I did is I made sure this ice cream cone that links to card 6 is conditional. And then I'm not sure why it says link if wrong. That's not very intuitive at all. What it really means is I need to get this card correct and then use this to go to where I'm supposed to go. So we're working on it. we're building this out little bits and taking your feedback.
Could you explain to Christy Z order?
Sure. Let's see. Let's actually go to a different deck that I made called Find the Red Colored Shape, which is kind of fun to me. Here is an example of Z order. This little circle is on top of the square. So think if we were to look, let's bend down and look at the side of this view. All of the elements that are sort of floating around here are actually above or below each other. And the Z order top front is the one that's closer to you from here. So this little circle is actually way closer to me, and because it's visible first, it's showing up. The square is bigger, but I mean, maybe the square is the sun and this is Mercury or something, right? So if we wanted to hide this little circle behind there, we could click the Z order while it's selected, which is down here. It's kind of like where border is and aligning it into page. There's functions to organize things. And let's send it to rear. And now it's hiding back there behind the square, which actually will impact a student's ability to select it. Oh, I can barely get the corner of it, but the square is mostly blocking it. So yeah, that is how Z order works. And it's just sort of a necessary problem with visual graphics rendering. You can't just show everything at once.
When if your students are using maybe a switch device, or they use the arrows on their keyboard to tap through it, the arrows will move to the objects in Z order. So it's some publishers have used that really to design for students with disabilities.
Yep. Yeah.
Alrighty, we have so many questions. I'm sorry, Kyle. This is probably a good time to go through them because we'll probably have more. It says, where do you get, Lisa asked, where do you get all the math symbols from?
Oh, if we're going to make math symbols, there's a way to actually do that with Boom Learning. Let me make another card really quick, and I'm going to put a fill in the blank here. This isn't going to do much. It's going to look kind of boring for a moment, but up here in details in the play, and I actually completely skipped over this because of a time is on my mind. The on-screen keyboard allows the fill in the blank to have math characters, special characters for math. So I've set this to be a math dropdown. If I preview this and I'm already typing here, see, I've got some math symbols that I can use. But there might be other ways to get them. If you go to store, let's search images. Let's type math as our keyword, not relevance, price low to high. Let's look around here, 0, 0, these are all 0. Oh, am I still searching by math? Yes, I am. Okay, here's a grid. Here are some clip arts that are free, that are numbers. Here's some free equal sign, a plus sign, some more free number clip art. Let's click more. So this is another way to get some math-based characters. They're not going to be typed, obviously. You'll have to move them around like an image, but that could help in building some designs or planning your deck. Hopefully that answers the question. I think so.
Someone asked, can you edit purchase decks?
Not really. You can only, so here I have some decks in my library. This little action button has a few options in it. It's show your students the deck so they can play it when they sign in, or if you don't want them to have to sign in, give them a fast pin, etc., etc. But down here is custom play settings. You can modify some elements of how the deck plays by allowing the student to play it repeatedly or not. Allow multiple plays, turning it off will show every card. You can also type, well, I only want them to see 12 cards per play. I know the deck has 40 in it, but I want them to do it piece by piece. You can also turn randomization off. So if you wanted them to see card 1, then card 2, then card 3. But unfortunately, that's it. You can't drop in and tweak like where elements are like you can if you make it from scratch. If it's in your studio like this, the action button is very different. You have a way more power with the deck that you created in your studio than the one that you just have licensed from another publisher. Yeah. You can duplicate them and do stuff with them.
So right now you can't edit the purchase decks. We've had a lot of requests, so that's gone on our customer wish list. And we review that and we pick what we can do or what's really cool to do or what would benefit most of you. And we try and develop that for you. So our customers have a lot of input in how we design our platform. But what Kyle was describing is those are some really cool customizable place settings that you can set for purchase decks. Now you can also have colleagues, and colleagues can share their decks with you. They can, you can use their decks and you can work together and collaborate to create decks together. So that's one way that you can edit decks with your colleagues.
Yep, action, and then create a clone, and then you can transfer to someone in your colleagues list. Here you see 2 is one of my colleagues. I could transfer this, the working, owning, the creative license to it, the right to sell it. I can transfer that to someone else, and they can transfer it back or make more copies. So yeah, definitely. Once you have it in your studio and you're making it, then you have lots of freedom. But if you've only purchased it from the store, there's not much you can do with it yet. But we want to improve that. And I think a lot of the sellers like this idea too, that they can place configurations into their deck. It gives them versatility.
Awesome. Let's see, how about another question, and then we'll continue on with the webinar. Rachel asks, can you use your own voice or different voices?
Yes. To learn about voices, it might be good to go and watch the master class from last year, actually, because Dave Sindri does he covers Audacity, which is a recording app that's completely free, very inexpensive on your computer, meaning it just doesn't take up a lot of RAM or anything like that. And
Kyle,
you can.
Do you mind if we ask Dave to answer this question?
I a little bit. I hadn't planned on surprising him like this and having. Yeah, no, we could at a little later in the Q&A if Dave would like to. But yes, well, we can show it. We have a lot of time for this webinar, and it might be useful to show voice recording. It's actually quite easy. And yes, you can absolutely record your own voice and put them in the boom cards. That's kind of what I did, what John Michelle did.
Yeah, so we'll save Robin's question for later, and Dave can answer what's the easiest way to record your own voice. So I'm going to turn the webinar back to you, Kyle.
Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to cover drop zones really quickly because I think drop zones are pretty fun for students, like tapping on the touch screen and dragging a shape around and seeing how it moves around can be pretty fun. Here's an example of one that's already been created where this piece of art here, it's not correct, it's not wrong, it's not a link, it's set to be a drop zone. And drop zones should be big. They should be large enough for them to sort of have the accuracy to let go of the item inside the drop zone. And also the item, if it's bigger than the drop zone, won't be able to fit. So it just won't land properly. So it's a good design idea to have your drop zone be like a bigger shape on the screen, pretty obvious. Let's preview this and we'll see what is it like to play. Now, if I click and hold on this, I can move it around. And then when I hover it over here and let go, and then click submit, it's gonna go ding, and that is a correct answer. I made one here that's really sort of a basic boiled down version of what we just saw, except there's another draggable here. And as you can see, these elements here are set to be draggable, and they have this little hand, like point and pull it around. Not drop zones. The drop zone is over here. And one of them has a wire connecting to it, and the square, which should not fit here, it's the wrong shape, does not have a wire. And if we preview this and drop the square in there, whoops, I'm gonna say nope. you have to put the circle in there. Now, it doesn't know what the shapes are. The boom card's not that smart. What I did is I just dragged the little hand into the flag to make the wire, which I can just do that really quick. Let's make one that's unique. Let's see. Let's use a pentagon and a hexagon. And now we're going to place the space for the hexagon right here. We're going to make this a draggable, and we're going to make this a draggable too. And I'm going to make this a little bigger, based on what I just said, obviously. Makes it a little easier. And make this a drop zone. Now, they're both wrong right now. But if I take this little hand and I drop it on the flag, now this is correct. And we can actually test this really quick. And if I drop this here, it's going to say nope. Whoops. And if I drop this here, kind of can place it all over the place. I wonder if we can fix that. If we select the drop zone, let's make snap to center turned on. And then we preview and we put it, let's see if we drop it kind of in the wrong place. Oh, it'll snap in the middle. That's nice. Very satisfying. So drop zones, they're kind of fun and easy to set up, and they're fun to play too. Here's another example where there's not the right shape at all. Oh, that's not in the right place. Here's one that I think is kind of fun too, where there is a correct answer and a correct drop zone, and they're kind of all tangled up. And if the student places one in the wrong spot, it might get stuck and they'll have to see if they can get it out. And that's a Z order thing, because these guys, see how the diamond is in front of the circle, and that diamond's in front, and now the circle is, yeah, they sort of compete with each other for Z order, which kind of plays into the game a little bit, especially with fitting these shapes in the right places. Oh, there we go. I finally figured it out. And all I did was I placed some images here on the card, and then I dragged the little flag into the corresponding drop zone that I want the student to place them in. I just copied Jonachel's idea, which is way more applicable as a life skill. Where do the laundry go? How do I wash the colored clothes and bleach the white clothes, you know, organizing them. Here's one that looks a little bit confusing. What's going on here? This says place 3 shapes into the square, but I have 5 shapes that are all set to be correct. They're all wired up. But if we test this out, and let's say I put only 3 of them in there, it's going to say it's correct. Well, what's going on? Well, there are actually conditions of logic that can be applied to a drop zone. Pardon me, I keep losing my timer for some reason. And the conditions are set when you have the box selected here. Over here, you can see it's a drop zone. It does not have snap to center selected, but I have exactly 3 is what I want. And if you click on this little paper clip, I can cycle through what I want to be the correct answer conditionally. At first it says all. I need every correct answer that's wired up, or it's not going to be correct. Or I can have at least 1. Maybe the student puts 1 or 2 or 4. Those would all be correct, as long as there's just 1 in there. So this is more of a less challenging condition. Exactly 1, I would have to change this and say place 1 shape into the square. It could be any of them because they're all correct, but the condition is that it only wants 1 of those correct answers. So with conditions and having them wired up or not wired up, and having several of them, you can create some pretty complex challenges and puzzles with drop zones. I wish I had some more examples of games like this that drop zones can use, but I don't currently have that. Drop zones, that's about it for them, other than your imagination with the functionality. There's all kinds of drop zone games that for sorting, like some art of nickels and dimes and pennies going into a jar, or other kinds of games like this. Earlier, I showed a couple of our new features. These are really fun to me, and there aren't many boom card decks with these because they're so new. But if I have this selected here, an image, for instance, and I go down for chain images, I showed this a little earlier, I can add a chain image up to 9, including the image it starts as, that default background, and have it cycle through those images just by clicking add chain image and then picking something. Like, let's add another quarter circle. This little triangle here also has its own chain of images, so we can add a couple more to that one. Wait, no, that's redundant. Let's see, a circle, why not? And now if we preview this, we can just click these and cycle through them, and kind of, maybe it's a password, maybe there's a game you're playing, you know, that can use this. A lot of people are using it for memory match, where they just set all of them on the board to be the back of the card face, and they set them all up like this. Let's see, Control C, Control V to copy and paste the element. We can also click duplicate right there, and Control V. Wait a minute, let's just click duplicate a few more times. There we go. And now I could make a chain image behind all of these and have the students find the two that are matching. And that's, it doesn't know how to grade it yet to say, oh, this is correct or this is not correct, but it can still be something interactive you do with your students. Oh my goodness, I certainly clicked the wrong button there. Another feature is alternate text. This is good if the operating system is reading text to speech and it's playing audio from reading the web page. I have the little B selected here, and then way down here is the accessibility text. And if I click that, I wrote a description of what the image is, and it says a smiling yellow bee with black stripes. This can work as metadata for accessibility. It can help the student to hear more about what the boom card is. We also have the tab key now. So if you're using switch access devices, you can just tap the tab key and it will cycle through options, or hold shift and you can tab in the opposite direction, which is how you would code the switch access tab and shift tab, forward and backwards. And then enter is the submit button. And there's one more new thing, which I think is fun too, and that's hiding images. This igloo here is set to hide when tapped. It's not correct or wrong, or it can't be anything else, because when you interact with it and tap on it, it will fade away, disappear, and reveal something underneath, which also disappears when you tap. Oh, the flower's gone too. Well, that's an empty card now. But yeah, hide when tapped is fun. You can bury hidden messages or clues just by having the student tapping around for things. Maybe like a clean up the leaves from the yard kind of deck, where the nice grass art is underneath, and then on top of the Z order are clip arts of leaves, and then you sort of tap them and they disappear, and then the yard looks nice. All right, well, that about covers everything in the studio, short of more advanced training on specific game type making, like flashlights, like memory match. I did cover that a little, but I didn't really give a thorough cover of that. But I can take questions now, and then also I'd like to talk with Dave Sindri for a little while, maybe ask him some questions about some of his early boom cards that he made that might inspire you all as you're starting. But yeah, are there any new questions? I think I see some here.
Yeah. Lisa asked, has Boom made it possible yet to turn off the overview option students see when they play, so they can look ahead at future cards.
No, 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 it's not a good answer, but that's the case at the moment, is that overview is just visible for all the students. And this is a request we've received repeatedly that we're working on as we update the player. There's a lot of new things coming in the future for the player, like ink, Piper. These things will change the player in a lot of ways, and we are also looking to improve it too, based on all of the feedback we're getting. We don't just want to like add new stuff. We want it to be the same, essentially feel the same, but just have some extra things and also be cleaner and easier to navigate. And that's one of the things that we've noticed, is that the student can kind of fudge a little by looking into the future with overview. Yes, this is being recorded. The whole webinar will be on YouTube.
Someone else asked in the chat, should the drop area, or can the drop area be a strange shape?
Yes, the drop area can be kind of, well, I actually have a strange shape in here, I think. Yes, here I've changed it to a very strange shape. But if you notice, I can still place items inside the convex areas, and that's because in image rendering within Boom cards, all images have an aspect ratio. They're rectangular, so the actual pixels may be transparent out here, but Boom card still thinks there's a square containing the whole image. So you could create a visual illusion that the drop zone is like a bear, and a bear is kind of like a round fluffy shape. But in theory, you could still drop things into the corners where the fur isn't reaching, because the Boom card thinks, as you can see there with that glowing drop zone outline, that the whole image is actually a square. So yes, kind of yes and no is the answer to that one.
All right. I think Christelle asked, is there a slower webinar on creating Boom cards?
Oh my goodness. Yes, we actually have a Creating Boom Cards playlist in our YouTube page that is sort of like video by video, step by step, with pieces, instead of what I did today, which is sort of jumping through the whole platform. That would be useful too. It's helpful to use that playlist, because it's way more broken down, and it's slower. Yes.
There's just so much to creating. I mean, I think these are simple tools that you can master really easily, but what our educators have done with them it's like beyond our wildest dreams. So you can really dive deep into this studio of tools and create amazing Boom cards and games and lessons.
Yep.
So I think the last question I have left is from Robin, and it is, what's the easiest way to record your own voice and import it into a card?
Well, I mean, is Dave there? Are you available? I could also show this if you don't want a repeat of last year. Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. It's wonderful to hear your voice.
Yeah, I would just like to say that the best way to learn is just to try making a first deck. And those tutorials helped me so much when I went to YouTube. If I had a specific question, I could see very quickly and find very quickly how to solve a problem. And but if you can do PowerPoint, this is about the same. But just like PowerPoint, you can take these very simple tools and make like make crazy things. Crazy things. You can go so far with it. And I've had a lot of fun with the recording. And just like the sentence you showed, that if someone's having trouble reading the sentence, they can click and hear the sentence. You can record your own voice reading that sentence and just save it very easily on your computer using a microphone. Now I use this kind of microphone with usually a pop filter so I can get a nice clean recording. But most people can get a pretty good recording out of it. Audacity is a free program where you can, yep, there it is, and that you can just record. You can take noise out if you want to get fancy. But other than that, you just need to save as an MP3 file, and usually it's just file save as MP3, and you save it to your folder, and then you upload it to a folder in Boom Cards, and just very easily put that into a sound. Maybe I can show you if you can share my screen. Can I share my screen?
You should be able to. You're a co-host now.
Okay, so let's see.
And
There we
Dave, when
go.
you click the share screen button, there's
Yep.
a little button that says share sound at the lower left corner of that screen. Click on
Yeah,
that.
I'm on my way. I just didn't realize I had a million things open. I was working on something.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yes.
Here we go. I'll just share that. And that's not what I wanted to share. Hang on a sec. Well, this is a spinner that I've been working on. So let me just take that down. I wanted to share a different Boom card. Let me just see if I can do this. Okay, so yeah, this back to Barnard. This is probably the second deck I've done. Can you see this?
Not yet. If you click
Share
share
just a
screen again.
There
yeah.
it is. Okay, there we go.
Ah, yes.
And I'll move this down. And so with this one, I had some, you can see it's in Flow Magic. So when you click the horse, it says click horse to begin, it'll go to the next item. And so when I wanted a sound effect, I put this here. Now, the way I did this was I clicked a sound out like this. And you see, these are all my sound effects here. So I've got folders organized within Boom Cards. And after I made the folder, I just upload it from my computer. So you see I have rooster here. I could click rooster. And you see down here, the sound right here is a rooster. But I could also change the image to something like this. I could change it to, well, I could change it to anything. I'll change it to the T-Rex here. And you see the T-Rex there is there. And if I go to preview, it clicks cock-a-doodle-doo. All right, so you can actually, yeah, just leave it as the little icon, or you can make your own icons. And when you click it, you can hear whatever sound you make. So I have different sounds for different animals, even though I have the same image here. And that's easy enough to do too, because I just click this. I can duplicate it, or I can copy it and paste it on another page. And then I can just change the sound down here to someone saying Happy Easter. And so I use Audacity for a lot of the sound effects. And as people probably know, I use my daughter a lot of the times to make the funny voices for the different characters. But so you can do a lot with sounds. Turns out that kids go crazy for the sound effects. So if you can just have something that barks, or something that says hooray when they finish, something that you can drag down, like let me show a different one here.
Hi, Dave. I don't think you're sharing your sound.
Oh,
To
okay.
Zoom. So
Not sure how to.
share, if you click on the green share screen button
Yep.
again,
Yep.
and then in that window,
Share
in
sound.
the
Thank
share
you.
sound, and then share.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll just share this back again. And so I will go to
That's a lot of Boom Cards.
that is probably almost 4,000 Boom Cards now.
Wow.
So I just started 3 years ago. So beware. And they limit you for images to 300 folders. And I'm such a pack rat. I don't want to get rid of any to make room for new ones. But But if you can see here, this is an open thing for a carrier phrase, so I can type anything in here and it's okay. So I use this text box a little differently. Whoops, I have to be able to type. I see the word ... and then they'll have to name a word, like I see the word chocolate milk. But we can put different things on the plates, or we can put these little ladybugs.
Spider-Man is my hero.
Were you able to hear that? Yes, okay. Or cherries.
2 cherries are the best.
So that's my daughter's voice. And the way I did that was just simply to put the sound out. Add the sound I want. So I've got, you see Ladybug Picnic here. So I want to say, ooh, these grapes are delicious. And then I put a background, I find the grapes image and I change it here. And I make it the right size by dragging this and putting it the right size. So that's how I would, in a quick tutorial, say you could use sound in a lot of different ways. Are there any questions about that?
Not yet. There was one about cloud audio recording working the same as Audacity, and I think the answer is yes. You can record with Apple as well, and then if you use the cloud service that Apple has, you can get .mp3 files of recordings. Audacity is still really nice though, because it lets you, as Dave knows, you can it's like Spider-Man's my hero, but he sped it up. The pitch is higher. And Audacity can do things like that to like make sound effects more interesting, I suppose, or maybe.
And sometimes I just edit another sound effect. So I go to this free site called freesound.org, where people just submit their crazy sound effects that they've recorded. And so I took another one that went into the water, and I combined those to make a possum that fell off a tree to fall in the water. And so you can make your own sounds and then save them as MP3 and upload them, use them in different ways. But free sound has been a great thing for me. I don't usually leave the sound the way I find it, but so you can tailor things to work pretty well.
We got a question in the chat. It's from Crystal, and she's asking, how do you include videos in your boom cards?
Well, actually, I've got a deck here open, and so for this, what I would do is just to grab the video down here, and you see it comes up with a standard, a standard video just from Vimeo. Now, I used to have YouTube videos up there, but they're not allowed right now because they advertise to kids. So we don't want YouTube videos in there. So now I use Vimeo. Maybe you guys should talk to other options, but I think Vimeo works well for me. And maybe I just want to center this. So I centered it horizontally and vertically. I've got a nice size. Now, if you peek underneath, there's the old one. So you have to start thinking in layers with this stuff. And if I double click it, I can put the link to the Vimeo link to there. So I was just working on this spinner. Let me take the link, copy, and I'll go back here. Where was I? Okay, so if I double click on this, I just paste the link in here, and there I've got my spinner. Now, I made these spinners from a PowerPoint deck that just automatically advances with 0 between it. So I made this myself. I know everyone doesn't have a video editor like this, or maybe they don't know how to do it with PowerPoint. So let me just put the link to this. Anyone who needs a spinner, be free to use this. Let me put it in the chat. Let me just a sec.
A notepad is blocking.
Now it's the notepad. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I gotta close that. And I don't want to save it. Okay. So did you get the link there?
Yeah, I
So if
see it.
anyone wants a
like a-
game spinner, you
their
can just
show.
put this in the corner up here by your game, beside your game board. And if you preview it, you just click and pause when you feel lucky. And now I can move 6 spaces. Click and stop. I get to move 5 spaces now. And that was one of the things that really stuck me for a while. I thought, I've got all these game board ideas and I don't know how to make a spinner. So yeah, the video actually works well for that. And if you want to change the video, you can change it back by just clicking again and change that video again. So I'm going to delete this because someone's probably using this deck right now and wondering why there's a big dice in the middle of it. All right. Did that help
It-
with videos? Is that
Oh
okay?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
But I do think, so if you're selling, if you're gonna publish your boom cards to the store and sell it in our boom store or elsewhere, we suggest use Vimeo because they don't contain ads to children. And but if you're going to use it for private purposes, private use, as long as it's okay and it's with your school policies, you can use it privately with your students and use YouTube videos.
I would just say something about images too, is that like I make my own videos, but I also very easily make my own buttons, text boxes, anything. Let me just open something else up. A little old lady. Just search for my deck here. And this was the very first one I ever made. And I did this title in PowerPoint. I did this button in PowerPoint. I did this button in PowerPoint. And I even took these little arrows here. And so you can just open up your PowerPoint. You can make a little rectangle. You can click on it, add an effect to make a, you can make a shadow under it. You can use whatever font you want. And then what you do is you click on that image and you right click and it says save as picture. So then you just save it to your computer and in the folder that is the little old lady who swallowed a fly. And then you upload it to Boom cards. And then what I do is, see, this is actually an image and I could put this guy back in there. Now I'm real trouble because I don't know where little old lady is, but I'll fix that later. And these buttons, you can personalize these very easily by writing in whatever you want on the button and then just using it as an image. And you'll see I've got 2 paths here. So this is Flow Magic. This is my very first screen. If you click the whole story, you go through all of these with the little old lady. But if you click Act It Out, I've got a different path. It'll hop you down to this last card here, where you preview the little old lady and you can drop things into her tummy and it'll show on the x-ray as you add the things that she's eaten. Like that. All right. That was the very first deck I ever made.
I was gonna ask that actually. I was gonna ask, what was the one of your first achievements? I would say something like that.
If you call this an achievement,
The little old lady swallowed a fly. I don't know why. Yeah, that's wonderful.
And luckily for me, I had a business where I did a lot of printed materials for years, and I had all of my images drawn. But I know there's a wealth of resources out there where you can get images from artists very easily, to fill in. I always use my own drawings. If I need a photo, then other free source I love is to go to unsplash.com. And again, I don't usually keep that photo the way I get it. I modify it, but they're royalty free and you're able to use that at will. So
I'm gonna send this to the chat.
And Dave, what was the website you suggested for free sound?
it's called freesound.org.
Okay. That's easy enough.
You can put
somewhat
in,
easy to remember.
cinder block being dragged across a garage floor and it'll come up.
That's pretty interesting. That's great.
And so I have something that when after you move a big stone wall out of the stone temple, you can hear that sound effect, and it just makes things a lot more dynamic, a lot more interesting for kids playing the game.
Tammy asked if you use photos or clip art from a free site, do you have to post where it came from?
They usually have some rules about that they have to be royalty free, but they also have to be the artist has to give you permission to use in whatever context you want. Sometimes they make limitations, like if you're going to sell it. But a lot of times I take my own pictures too, just with my iPad, and put those in there.
Yeah, and if you do, Tammy, if you do use it from a certain website, there is an area in the deck for acknowledgements. We do encourage that you give credit where credit is due, and you list the source there.
If you place information in acknowledgements, Dave, if you click details real quick, I can point it out. Yeah, that acknowledgements field, anything in there at all is better than nothing.
Down
It
here.
will increase your discoverability. That's a secret. Shh. it's not really a secret now, right? But yes, acknowledgements impact indexing with Google.
Yes, like,
who we are working with now.
For my reading decks, I have a reading specialist, Chantel, who works with me. She does some work and I do some work, and I can transfer to her account a deck, and she can work on something and send it back to me. So in those cases, I acknowledge that it's co-created in that spot too.
Fantastic.
I never put my daughter's name there to give her credit. She's very famous now for her ladybug voices and, and flea voices, but yeah, anyway.
Tara was wondering, can you use Google Slides or PowerPoint slides to create boom cards?
I know that people do. I'm not the one to ask about that. I usually prefer to work right within a deck and create it as I'm going. But I think some people feel very comfortable with those formats, and they may even have material already created in those formats. And I know it's very easy to transfer them over. I'm just not the one to tell you how.
You're a purist. We actually do have a webinar on creating boom cards using Google Slides and PowerPoint slides. It's on our YouTube video, and it's great. Anna Scaramella does it, and she's a phenomenal teacher, so you'll learn very easily.
I actually have a PowerPoint template, a PowerPoint deck that just has buttons and everything, and it's very easy for me to go in and, for example, have a green button here that I could just change the text on this, right click and make another save as image. So that becomes very easy just as a resource to make images very quickly.
You probably have a ton of images in your image library.
I have too many, yeah, and I got limited at 300 folders for the images, and I know most people don't hit that limit, but I've hit it, and so now I've had to rename folders and get rid of images that I haven't used in years, and it's like cleaning your garage. It's not fun, and you always think I'm going to need that, and you do the next week after you take it off, but but yes, if you go to Studio, here are my images, and you'll see I have images going all the way down. And also, if you click on here, sometimes I have subfolders within this. You can create a subfolder. And so I might just say balloons. Whoops, sorry. And if I click OK, it says, sorry, you have reached your folder limit. So right now I still have to clean up.
Oops.
Yeah,
We
I've
may
been
But it
talk
takes
dealing
a
with
to
while
this
to
Eric
get
about
there. I don't
occasionally.
think too many people have to worry about that.
Well, I'm tech support on our help desk, and I've been encountering it on occasion.
Oh, okay.
You're not the only one. Don't worry. We're looking at
Okay.
it because yeah.
But one thing I would say is to always think templates, because you may think of another version of the same game you've done, or another, another, like for example, the games I love to do the most are usually from one basic template. So for example, these are new home programs I'm working on for the fall. And so if I go into one, eventually, you'll see I just have a question mark and I can put S in there or F in there. I have all the games and the links set up now. So the great thing about Boom Learning is that they've created it so that now you can clone a deck. I've made this template. I can make another one just like it by cloning it, and all the links still work. So everything, the only thing I have to change are these cards. I can change this one to all F cards, and then I can make another clone, and I can change the next one all to S initial cards or S final cards. And so I work very hard on my template, because if I get someone to say, oh, you know what, there's a problem with the game number 2, then yeah, it might affect like 100 different games. So I use my template very, very carefully. And I also sometimes release it as one game, and I get feedback from users, or I try it and try it and try it to make sure the template is clear and pure before I start using it. But it's so valuable now to have this, because I've calculated that I'm going to need to use this version maybe 600 times. So for all the different Orton Gillingham versions, the minimal pair versions, the articulation versions, all of that.
I am
Awesome.
I cannot pronounce her name, Shara Lampia asked, so I guess the way that sound works is the same for students recording, for example, 40 seconds of their choir performance. Is there a way for students to record their own voice?
There is now, and I haven't explored it very well. So maybe Kyle, you could help with that part there.
Yeah, let's see. Let me share my screen real quick. This is also a new feature which I just completely ran out of time to show. But if I just select a card, let's say this one here, right up here in the upper right corner, just always there, is allow voice. And what allow voice does is it turns on voice memos for the student. I think I can preview it from here. Yep, here it is. Now this recorder button will appear. And if I click record, click start. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Oh, now it's working. Hello, my name is Kyle. Hello, my name is Kyle. Well, I caught the tail end of my recording, but this can be used as soon as you leave the card. It will erase the data, though. We're not quite there yet where the student's voice can be stored on our server, so it's there locally for a minute, allowing you to sort of look over the student's shoulder, but it won't save it in a permanent format on your teacher account. Not yet. We want to make sure that we're very secure and abiding by all privacy regulation before we take that voice, because the voice is considered personally identifiable information. Quite risky information. So we're working towards it, though, to allow this voice memo to do more, to allow more time to intervene and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's great right now for students to record their own voices and play them back as kind of like practice, especially for speech therapy or reading and whatnot. But like Kyle said, we are kind of working out the privacy and security issues before we allow that to be saved for future use. Let's see, Colette asked, okay, after this fabulous info, can you remind me the very first time creators want, what's the starting point where you would go to create a boom card?
I'll show you just real quickly, since I'm already there. When you're signed in at boomlearning.com or wow.boomlearning, the first thing you do is head down here and make sure you have a starter membership, at least starter. Once you have that, all you have to do is go over to Studio, which is up here in the upper right in the tabs, and then click Decks, which is right here. At first, it'll be empty. You can see I've made a lot, and also Dave had lots that he created, but there's a button right up here at the top. It's quite easy to see when there's not much cluttering the screen, and if you click it, it'll make a new deck for you, which you could click on once it's here in the list and then start editing it. That's how you start, really. If you wanted to do more, you could set your avatar or your logo for your store and click up here to set your name and your bio right here. But other than, you don't have to do any of those things to click Decks and just start creating right away.
Kelly asked, can students create their own boom cards?
You have to have a teacher account to create a boom card, because the student account, when you're signed in as a student, does not have a studio tab. But as long as a student is given an email address, because you need an email address to confirm your account and to sign in, obviously you get your password is delivered through that email address. That way only they can get it. But if they created a teacher account, they could just get starter down here, just like anybody else could, and then they would be able to go to Studio.
I would have to.
Is that wrong?
Yeah, I think students should have students accounts and teachers are usually adults. So
Okay. I've heard of some high
unfortunately,
schoolers.
yeah, unfortunately right now they can't, but that's definitely on our roadmap to develop tools for students to create their own boom cards for their own homework practice, test prep and whatnot.
My 15-year-old was interested, so I let him play on my account, but I was always worried he was going to delete something that
Publish
I needed.
something?
Yeah, well, I was really worried he was going to publish it. But he had a great time with it, and we actually had a nice time working together on it. So I could see in speech pathology where it would be a lot of language used as you design together. But I would probably, if I did it with a child on caseload, I would probably get a starter account that's separate from all the decks and the images that I use for my business.
Yeah, and then work with them to create boom
Yeah,
cards.
that's the best language when you get that going.
Absolutely. Heather asked, how do I break an image into parts to make it like a puzzle, like you did with that school bus you showed?
Can I steal the screen again?
Yeah, sure.
So, okay, so with an image, you need a editor, let me just turn off this. You need an image editor. So I use Photoshop. So I think most of the time what I do is I just cut things into different pieces and then put it back together. It's hard to get the sizing right. So one trick that I do, let me see if I can share my screen again. Let me just go to, see, I have so many folders now, they're all squished up here. Let me see if I can, Twinosaurus. Let's see, Twinosaurus for vocabulary. Okay. When they're a bigger deck, they take a little bit to load. Just a sec. So what I do usually is I make I make an image and I have to play with it and play with it. And you can nudge images just by like clicking on the image and then trying to change it. Now, see, this one has the chain images that Kyle's talking about. So if I preview it, I took a picture that I had drawn of a full T-Rex, and then I cut it into 5 pieces. And I very carefully overlaid the skeleton so that it all works. So if you click this, you know, the kids reanimate the dinosaur this way. And so what I had to do, be very careful, was so that when you put the pieces together, it looks whole again. There's no gaps in between. So what I needed to do was to make this sorry, just a sec. Going back to my editor mode. When I was setting this up, what I did was Control plus to make my screen bigger, so I could take a really good look at it. And I'll go out again. And what I did was, instead of having this blank, I made an invisible image for the first one with nothing in it. And you see how I have the second image as the head. Well, I actually put the head in here, and I put all the body parts in here instead of the invisible image. And I lined it all up so that it looked like it was all whole. And then when I was done that, I changed the top image to something invisible. And then this was hidden underneath. So when you click this, actually this needs to be a actually invisible play, not just this one, because you'll end up with this this icon. But anyway, what I did is I have an invisible one and I have the real one. And so I put the invisible one there, and then when they click it, yeah, the real dinosaur shows up like that. So I'm not sure if there's other ways to do it, but I have to take it into Photoshop and then cut each piece and save it as a different file.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for showing all that.
Oh, you're welcome.
We have one more question. It's probably for Kyle. Jacqueline asked, if I'm having trouble with creating a deck, can I call tech support and speak to someone? I'm old school.
Yes. Yeah. I help with creating decks every week with publishers who just have small questions, and I call them too. It's just you'll have to book a call. That way there's no conflicts. I can usually call within the week though. If you email help@boomlearning.com and just ask for Kyle, I will get your email. It's like a lot of mail falling from the sky onto a big desk, and it's being sorted by our team. And if you mention me, I'll send you my form, a booking link, and then you can schedule calls with me, and I will reach out on your time and help you with deck editor related things. And
I would
things.
say too that even if you submit a ticket just for some help, people respond almost immediately. They're right on the case. So for example, this deck worked very well on desktops, but did not work well on the iPad. And it turned out I had one image just a little bit in the wrong spot, and they figured it out for me and gave me advice, and I was able to fix it. And that only took a couple of days to get back to me, but it must have been a lot of work to figure out what was actually glitching on the iPad versus the desktop, well beyond me. But there's lots of tech support, even for back and forth by email. So I just put a plug in for that, because I've really appreciated the help the tech department has given me.
Well, thank you as well, Dave, for being here on such short notice.
No problem.
I just had a wild idea that you might want to share some of your amazing discoveries and games and insights. But yeah, we're a bit over time. There aren't any questions left. And I suppose I can let everyone go. There's some information in our chat about the upcoming panels for the symposium. We will be sending recordings of the symposium out to all the registrants and also be placing them in our YouTube page in a Symposium 2023 playlist. It might take a little time to get it. I think they'll all be available by Friday, though. So fingers crossed. But anyway, thank you all so very much for being here. This was great fun for me. I think it was fun for Tu and Dave as well. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thank
Hi,
you.
everybody.
Bye.